Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of the Sports Hour with Miller and Watson. We are taping a little bit later tonight than we normally do. It's 10:37 on a Friday. Obviously, we both are super fun and have really awesome fun lives, and that's why we are at home taping this podcast at 10:30 on a Friday night. But, it's dry January for me, and I have had an exceptionally long week preparing for week 18 of the NFL. So I'm happy. After this, I am taking a bubble bath and I am going to bed because we have to go up to friends. We have a engagement party tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah, so we're going up to Dan's home, my fiance's hometown for an engagement party. I actually was just thinking, I have no idea what time it starts, so I hope it's later in the afternoon. But how are you on this fine Friday, this chilly Friday night? Is it snowing down there, or is it supposed to snow this
not,
weekend?
not yet. It's supposed to get here like Saturday morning. It's supposed to just be more rain than anything in Philadelphia,
Oh,
which
really?
continues our 700 plus days of no snow, which is great for me because I hate shoveling. So,
Wait, you guys haven't had snow in 700 days?
yeah, yeah,
That is crazy.
significant snow. Let me say it like that. Significant snow.
That's
Um,
crazy. Well,
like
come up to Connecticut. We get too much snow. Actually, that's not true. I wish we got more snow. I love snow. Being from Virginia, I didn't get to experience all the snow that we have here.
spoken like a woman that doesn't have to shovel.
True. That is absolute fact. Dan always says, he's like, "You didn't grow up doing yard work, did you?" And I'm like, there are a lot of things that I do. I will cook, I will sort of clean, but no, I don't do yard work. I don't. And I very early on in the relationship, I was like, you gotta learn to do the outside stuff because I'll garden, but yard work, no. I'll weed. How about that? That's about it. But I won't. No, I don't shovel. If you want me to go and sprinkle some like salt on the ground, I'll do that. But no, I don't shovel. I hate even shoveling my own car of snow. So
Nah,
that'll be interesting because I finally now have a car that I can drive in the snow. So we'll uh we'll see. Maybe this weekend. I'm hoping that I don't get stuck down in uh Stanford down at the studio on Sunday night.
so
After yeah, so
it's all good. Just truck to work. Walk it. I'm sure you're close enough. Walk it.
yeah, just 20 miles. I am training for a half marathon, so oh my gosh, before we get started though, so I'm training for a half marathon and I do Orange Theory, which is this like workout class or whatever.
Yeah, I've heard the
And
theory. They had
um
near Syracuse, so I know what that is.
yeah, so they just started this new thing for 2024 that's um
New chic.
it's tread 50. So you go, instead of doing, generally you go and you're on the treadmill for like 20-ish minutes. And then you're on the rower for a little bit, and then you're on the floor doing weightlifting. But this is just like a straight class that all you do is run on the treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, perfect. This is the perfect time for like me to go and help train for my half marathon. And I thought I was going to die. 50 minutes in, I was like, I only ended up running straight for about, it's like 35 minutes running straight. And I ran like 3.5 miles, which is pretty good. But I was dying. I was absolutely dead. My head is like actually still throbbing from it because I just don't think I drank enough water today. So that is one of my New Year's resolutions was to run a half marathon. So that is happening in April, right before my birthday.
Okay. All right. Hey,
So we'll see if I 3.5 miles and I'm dying. We'll see if I can get to 13.1 or whatever it is. So
that's
um
something. Hey, you
it's something.
doing a lot better. I mean, I didn't even. I don't even have. I gotta actually write my goals. I don't call it resolutions. I gotta write my goals for
Yes.
2023. I was about to say 2029. I'm giving us 5 years.
Wow.
Uh,
2029, I think my life will be looking a lot different than it does at this time.
yeah, but
Somebody asked me what one of my other resolutions were. They said, "What do you want to do in 2024?" And I said, "Get through the wedding without killing anybody."
oh
Um,
man, yeah. I was just like, goal is a goal. New Year's was great, by the way. It was a good time with family. New Year's Eve was a little boring just because, like you, I had to work. um, but it was good. I don't know. To continue to expand this, I guess one of the biggest goals continue to expand this podcast.
Yeah.
As we continue to grow as a unit, and it's great. Obviously, you have big 2024, as you alluded to, getting married, joining the wedded
Sorry,
bliss,
I just blew everyone's eardrums out with that.
joining the wedded bliss. So early congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually like trying to fill out all my health insurance stuff, and it's so weird because they're like, "Will you?" And I'm like, "I only need it for like 3 months," but because I'm gonna get on Dan's because it is much better than mine. But speaking of all of that, let's talk some sports.
Yes.
We're gonna start out with a game that just happened, ended what, like an hour and a half, 2 hours ago.
So probably like 42 because it ended like 9:45, 10 o'clock.
Okay. So I didn't watch this game because I was watching the UConn Butler game. UConn won. So I'm gonna give this right over to you because they were like showing updates of the game on
Fox
while the UConn game was happening. So I saw little snippets of it, but I'm gonna let you get us started with your reactions from this game.
Well, this is a first. Well, first off, Happy New Year's, everybody. Happy 2024. First episode of 2024 for the Sports Hour Plus with Miller and Watson. It's and this is our first like post game reacts for any game actually. So we're really really happy about that because obviously our bosses at NBC keep us really really busy, and that's why
they do. They do. That's why we have to record at sometimes these weird hours because sports don't stop. They're at all times of the day, and sometimes we're working on sports that are in other countries, and so
yeah. I had to do the car rally in Saudi Arabia today. So like it's an international thing when you work at a national company.
Yes.
But yeah, as far as the Sixers and the Knicks go, right? It was a crazy game. Crazy just because the Sixers had a lot of momentum. Obviously, the Knicks just traded for OG Anunoby, and the Knicks killed the Sixers. This is one of them rare games where the Sixers just didn't have it throughout the night. Most positive thing.
I mean, the biggest thing I think, right, is they couldn't carry it over to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, this game was over within the first 2 quarters because the Knicks shot 61.8%. Then in the second half, the Sixers, after getting their behinds handed to them by Nick Nurse, got it together, turned the water off, as he said during the telecast, and really, really squashed the Knicks in the third and fourth quarter, but just couldn't happen tonight. This happens, 82-game season. Sixers are 23-10, now 23-11. It happens. You're going to have games where the shots don't fall, and unfortunately for them, it happened against New York. The Knicks, they didn't really have it tonight. Just the shots weren't falling. I've said this in multiple articles. Like when it looks great for the Sixers, it looks great, and it hasn't really looked bad. So if you're a Sixers fan after watching that game and you're like, and you may have been at that game booing them and watch the Knicks take over the Wells Fargo Center. It's all good. The Knicks aren't going anywhere. Let's be real about this. They've increased their ceiling, but their ceiling literally was getting eliminated by the Sixers, Celtics, or Bucks in the second round of the playoffs. So don't worry about it, Sixers fans. The biggest positive coming out this game is Joel Embiid survived and kept his streak alive. Now it's 16 straight games of 30-10. Honestly, that was the most positive in this game, and Tyrese Maxey was aggressive. We'll see tomorrow as they have a back-to-back. We don't know if Joel Embiid will play, but he probably will. And then they'll more than likely beat up on the Jazz, but they definitely need to do something else. What do the Sixers need to do to improve as a team? They need to we're seeing them now associated with. They've added some names now. DeJounte Murray. Yes. They're now associated with Pascal Siakam. Obviously, Zach LaVine. OG Anunoby is now in New York. But like, for the Sixers, they just need, I keep saying it, they need two things. They need a third scorer. Um, this is a theme on this podcast. I continue to say this. Third scorer for them. For games like tonight when Tyrese Maxey has it, Joel Embiid has it, but nobody else has it. This is a game where you need that third scorer, that person who can be aggressive no matter what. That person who's going to keep shooting. And so that's what is missing currently for the Sixers now. That usually is Tobias Harris, but he injured his ankle tonight. Had a left ankle soreness and didn't finish that game. So it becomes even more important that they need a third scorer because Toby is like the second best defender on the team. So like they definitely need. He is that wing player that shuts everybody else down. Like he put Julius Randle in jail throughout this game. So that is a big need for the Sixers now. Probably Tobias Harris isn't playing. Need to get the Anthony Melton back because they have they're the second best defense in the league, but they are a lot better when the Anthony Melton is available. Now he's also suffering from a sprained ankle, 10 plus points better in net rating. So most people are like, what does the Anthony Melton even do, Colin? He's a useless. All he does is play defense. I hear some casual Sixers fans and basketball fans say it. Well, you look at this game, you see Jalen Brunson just going off. That is what the Anthony Melton does. He shuts down guards. That's what he does. He's Mr. Do Something. He's the deflection king. He's the corner 3-point shooter. Then they need him back, obviously healthy. They'll face the Jazz tomorrow night, which should be a little bit of a better game for them. It should be angry. They only scored 81 points tonight, so like they're definitely gonna beat up the Jazz more than likely tomorrow night. But yeah, the Eagles, the Sixers need that, and they need a guard coming off the bench. Love Patrick Beverly. He is a dog, but a ball handler, consistent shooter, he is not. So they definitely need that going forward.
Yes.
And if they get all that, I think the Sixers definitely have a really high ceiling and they can get to a finals.
So my only question about all of this is that they seem, and I don't know if, again, I don't watch enough of Sixers games. I know that you do. Is there something to be said, especially like looking at the box score and stuff, about being able to, and again, I know you can't control a team when they're shooting 60%, but the stamina of being able to keep up with the team? Because in the first quarter, they were only down by 4, and maybe it looked like they were down by a lot more after the first quarter, but then it just significantly drops off. They seem to have a little bit of boost coming out of halftime after a rest, and then they just get annihilated in the fourth. Is there something about being able to carry that stamina for that full time? Because it seems they come out strong when they are coming off of rest or at the beginning of the game, but they can't seem to keep it going for both quarters and a half.
Well, so this is the fourth game that the Sixers had a rest advantage over a team. Usually the Sixers play better when they play up to the competition. Now, I don't know what happened. Maybe because they have a back-to-back. Focus wasn't there the way it should have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first quarter was great. But what really happened was the bench. The bench didn't have it in the second quarter. And that's really when the Knicks, like,
so that's where that fourth shooter comes, or that third shooter comes in that you said
going that really took advantage again. Like the bench was missing a couple of players. Like I said, DeAnthony Melton didn't play. They still have Nicholas Batum on a minutes restriction. There's a lot going on there. There's the flu is not just running rampant through you. It's running rampant through.
It is bad, and it's everywhere.
The Sixers team as well. So like they missed a couple of players tonight. Some depth there because of that. And so yeah, once they get healthy, literally, and like get through this stretch of a back-to-back, I believe the Sixers will be better. But yeah, that's really where that bench scoring comes in. And the Anthony Melton as well. Like I said, the Sixers are way better when DeAnthony Melton is on the floor, and obviously when they're hitting shots, which the Sixers are prone to do, haven't really done it so far this season, but they were due for a bad first half, a bad 4-quarter game, and this was it. This was that game, and it just didn't really work for them. Obviously, most Philadelphia fans would have rather it been anybody else but the Knicks, but yeah. So this often happens with the Sixers. They go through a power outage, and then the next game they can't miss. So it's unfortunate, but that's what happens when you have 82 games in a season. It'll ebb and flow, and basketball is a game of runs. Get used to this, folks, because football is ending soon. So we'll be able to become the basketball podcast really, really soon.
Yes.
So yeah, so maybe more UConn stuff.
Love it. Men and women,
Yeah. So on the Knicks, just to finish this, the Knicks are not a real contender. And I'm not hating just because they just beat the Sixers, but that the ceiling is second round exit. I don't think any Knicks fans are like, obviously the delusional ones are, but I don't think the Knicks fans are thinking finals, because that's not going to happen. But they definitely have a higher ceiling now with OG Anunoby. I think right now he's suffering from, I like to call it Mikal Bridges syndrome, right? When you go from like the third or fourth option to bam, you're the main option. So so they have a better defenders now. The spacing's a little better. And you saw it to perfection now against the Sixers, more spacing, more shots. But I don't really think, I think the Knicks will come down. Some people are going to wait for judgment, but I mean, the Knicks are really, like I told a colleague today, they're spacing out and getting rid of all the big salaries so they can get Donovan Mitchell. And if Donovan Mitchell is actually about winning championships, he will not go home to New York. Sorry, Knicks fans. Y'all not a championship contender. Let's just be real about it. There aren't any. Let me help y'all out. There aren't any championship contenders in the state of New York but the Bills, and that's really not saying much, because if they lose on Sunday, like y'all can just maybe Gotham FC. I know they play in New Jersey, but maybe Gotham FC is like your best chance of winning, men and women. So maybe that's your best chance of getting a parade again down where they go through Times Square.
I actually don't know. When's the last time there was a parade? It probably was. It definitely was the Rangers, right?
The Rangers, wasn't it the Yankees in 2009? Was there another championship that I'm missing for New York? I don't know. Maybe we'll Google it. We'll Google it. I think it's 2009, but we'll Google it. I believe. So the Knicks are good right now. They have some bragging rights because they beat the Sixers. And you'll get a playoffs at Madison Square Garden. That's the best you're gonna get.
That's fair, and that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Anything at MSG is awesome, in my opinion.
I've never been there.
I've only been once for a UConn game, and it was electric.
Yeah. If you count being under it every time I take the train to Penn Station, then I have been outside of it, but never for a game. I hope to change that. I hear it's electric. That Syracuse UConn 5 overtime game, I hear, was very electric.
Yes. I want to say, do you know Gary, the producer for BFA?
Yes.
I want to say he was at that game, and he's talked about how amazing it was. But I don't, because he's a Syracuse guy.
Yeah, I've talked to Gary a lot about Syracuse. Obviously, 2 different levels. He went for all 4 years for undergrad. I just did a year and a half. We really made school sound like jail, but we just did a year and a half. I just did a year and a half, but it's a fun time. Syracuse Universal, kind of like UConn, and your schools. I'm about to say Johns Hopkins, wrong school. Madison.
God, could you imagine if I could get into Johns Hopkins? I'd be making a lot more money.
I think you could.
Yeah, okay.
James Madison and Sacred Heart. So yeah, kind of like that. But yeah, I just watched that game on TV, but it looked electric on TV.
Yes, I agree. All right, so you think they're real, which I agree with.
I did
Oh, you
not.
don't? No, sorry. You think the Sixers are real, but you think that you think that the Knicks get their props for, which I agree. I mean, good for them, right? It's not an easy win against it's a good team. But let's talk about when we both were right. We both
Yes, the first time ever.
for real. Like generally, I feel like our takes, and then I go back and I'm like, well, I just know the other team's gonna win. But I'm watching the first game and I was like, okay, this is kind of going how I thought it was. Even though I really am a really, really big Alabama fan.
I am not. Like if
I
you, I'm not.
so
I like and respect Nick Saban. Let me say that, but I just think
fair.
Alabama are big time front runners, and they've always been. Doesn't matter who's on that team. But you
Yeah,
go
so
ahead.
I almost went to Bama. I'm from Virginia, and I actually had my deposit down at University of Alabama before I got into JMU, and I then decided to go to JMU because it's a better program for what I was studying. But I love the University of Alabama. I've always loved it. It is the most beautiful campus that's ever existed. It is like when you walk on campus, you're like, this is college. Like this is what college is supposed to be. But I am glad that our bets were not our bets, but I'm glad that our what we said was right. And I am genuinely happy for Michigan. I think that this is a long time coming. I think that this is the best team that they've had in a long time. And I just think that this is going to be, they deserved it. They were undefeated and they played their butts off. I can tell you though, our bets were not looking that good after that first drive when almost interception. And then the next time they get the ball back, they fumble the kickoff. So I can tell you right then and there, I was thinking maybe Alabama, maybe the SEC is big boying everybody, but I'm happy for the Michigan Wolverines. It's a good time to live in Detroit if you are a sports fan or a football fan, I guess. Not really a sports fan, but a football fan.
We'll get to the Lions.
So they I'm happy for them. And then going to the second game, Washington they're good. They are good. Michael Penix Jr. is good.
Like he is for real.
Yeah, I mean, and again, both of us kind of thought that we didn't really think Texas was all that good to begin with. Yeah, I actually thought they were going to put Arch Manning in at one point.
Horns down.
Horns down. That was the first game I went to at MSG was UConn versus Texas. And we were doing horns down the whole time, which was very fun.
Horns down. Yeah, man, that game, as people, obviously we weren't being homers because we saw some Washington games, working for our NBC, but it was a good game. Washington, with all due respect to them, because they did win, they almost pulled the Dallas Cowboys, choking that game away. But I was very happy for Washington. Michael Penix, somebody who's very familiar with Michigan, being an Indiana transfer. But the way he was, like you said, the way he was carving them up, man, I was ready to like turn that game off, honestly, because I was like, there's no way Texas is coming back. You said, I thought they would put in Arch Manning just because, like I said, Quinn Ewers is not him.
No,
he should have been he's not him. I kind of alluded to
you did
to it last week. Like Quinn Ewers is not that guy, man. Texas, I know, and like I said, the Longhorns, like I said, we all due respect to them. The Big 12 is a gauntlet, especially with Oklahoma. But y'all know y'all shouldn't have been in. like y'all, and like the two teams, it's funny. The two teams that shouldn't have been in, like again, all due respect to Bama, but just because you beat Georgia once out of 2 times does not mean that you should have been in this game. Like Florida State and Georgia should have been in. And maybe we're having a Georgia-Michigan conversation, or maybe Washington still beats Michigan, because it would have been reversed. But like maybe this still happens, right? Maybe it's Georgia, Washington, or Georgia, Michigan.
Yep.
And like we're having a different conversation. But it's Michigan. I mean, what is there to say, man? Like for both of these teams, like they have good defense. Obviously, Washington has a more complete defense. Like
Yeah.
their D line is elite, their secondary is elite, even their middle linebackers are elite. And meanwhile, Michigan just has a really, really beat 'em up, gritty D line that's going to sack you. Now it'll probably be a little bit difficult with Michael Penix because of how fast he gets the ball, and he's
Yep.
sneakily elusive because he doesn't run. But like when he wants to run, though, he can definitely score a touchdown.
Yes, he
Yeah,
has the legs to do it. He just doesn't. And
right,
I think it's not that he necessarily like doesn't, but I also think he doesn't need to a bunch,
right,
if you know what I mean. Like they have people that can do that on their team already.
right.
Um so but who do you think's gonna win? I'm
Oh man, I want to say Washington so badly, but like that energy, that like last dance energy is just so powerful with Michigan that even I'm like, I want to say Michael Penix. I will not be mad if he pulls this off, just because I don't live in the state of Michigan and I like Michigan, and everything. Like your story about how you almost went to Alabama is very similar to mine. I don't think I ever told you this, but
really
I almost went to Penn State, Maine, and I had the same thing. Was the number one choice, got in, and had money down to go to them. Had no idea that, like, unlike most campuses, we both went to private colleges, but unlike most college campuses, Penn State, Maine, at Penn State, Maine, housing is not guaranteed for a first year. And like, I don't know if that policy has changed since I applied there. It may have changed. So, if any current Penn State students or more recent Penn State alums want to say like it's changed, I am. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it did. I don't know. But at least when I went there, it hadn't changed. And so like I wanted to go. I was so gung ho about going. I was like, oh, so what? I'll live off campus. My parents were not having that. So, uh, uh, but like like they did what they did, and like I was so excited, still wanted to go, but my parents weren't having that. You have never met my parents, but let me tell you, I have the blessing and the misfortune of being like the firstborn. Both of my parents went to college, but my 4 hours away from my mom was a little bit too far for her, and she
fair.
liked Penn State, but there was she was getting weird vibes. Was when
Hey,
I went
I have
when
to
I
tell
went.
you, no, Kylan, I did too.
Yeah,
I looked there and I was like, I don't want to go here.
yeah.
And my mom was like, "What do you mean you don't want to go here? You love big like because so JMU is a big state school. So JMU
Right.
is a state school too. So like that's the vibe that I like. And my mom was like, "You don't want to go here." I was like, "No, I don't like it here. I don't know why."
Yeah, so my mom was getting weird vibes. My dad and I were fine, and my brother and my godmother, we were like, "Oh, this is great. This was." She was like, "Nah, it's kind of weird. Something's going on here." And what it turned out was going on around that time, as we all found out, was Sandusky. And like that's the vibes. We had no idea. I did not interact with him when I was visiting that campus at that time. I know Penn
Wait,
State.
you weren't a recruit, Kylan? You
No,
weren't
no, I was not. I was not. But yeah. So it was a good time, and I almost went to Penn State. Still love Penn State. That is my hometown school. But like I said, I know a lot of people that went to Penn State. Met a lot of people at Penn State. Would love to. That's no knock on them. Academics is very good. But like yeah. So instead of that, put my money at Albright College. Did some work. Got to Syracuse. Went to NBC, met you, started a podcast. Story continues.
story. We're still writing the book of
Yeah, yeah,
the podcast.
but I say all that to say, like, Big Ten all the way. Obviously, it's future Big Ten with Washington next year,
Yeah.
but I'm sorry, this year, this fall. But I have to go with Michigan just because, like I said, that last dance energy. I think it's like I don't bet on this stuff, but I think it's pretty likely just because he's hired Don Yee and Harbaugh seems like it's sending these signals that it's over after whatever
Yeah.
happens during this game. So I just got this Last Dance energy, and I think that energy is too big, even for, as Desmond Howard would say, big Penix energy. But I just can't. I would love to be wrong here. This is one time I'm going to be like, if Michael Penix pulls it off, he should get his flowers. He maybe should be the number one pick. I'm sorry, number two pick, because Justin Fields is basically saying I'm not getting replaced by any of these three guys. Yeah, I feel like it's Michigan all the way for me. It's probably going to be a close game. I'm going to say 30-26 Michigan.
Okay.
Sweat it out. They stress a lot of my Michigan Wolverine and Michigan friends out, but Michigan pulls it off and they get their first championship since I think Michigan State did it like 5 or 10 years ago, the last time they won a national championship in basketball. Again, that's something that we definitely should know, but I think it was 5 years ago. I think it was 5 years ago.
I think you're right. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I completely agree with you on it. Just sports are stories, and that's the story of this, right? That I don't know how you don't want to win. I've met a lot of the Michigan guys. I did Big Ten Media Day this year for football, and they love him. They adore him. And I think that, they want to do it for Coach. I think they know that this is his last year. I think that they want to do it for him. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Washington's going to keep it close, but I do think that Michigan's going to pull it out. I don't think there's any doubt. There's no doubt in my mind about it. Sometimes you just get that feeling, but
right. Like I said, it's Last Dance energy, and unfortunately, I just think that is kind of inevitable. But I do think it'll be a close game. I think this will probably be the closest and most competitive playoff that we have. Obviously, this is the last 14 playoffs, so it's about to get real competitive with 8 to 12 teams these next few years. So we'll see. But I just think, and again, like I'm gonna love to be wrong, even though Morgan knows I hate being wrong. But in this case, I'm not going to be mad if Michael Penix and them win the championship, just because, like, the whole state of Washington hasn't seen the championship since the Seahawks did it, and I believe the Seattle Storm did it recently too. But they haven't seen a championship in a while. So, like, I would be so excited if that happens. And obviously, Michael Penix is a great story, but that Last Dance energy is a little bit too high right now for me. But the football is a game of, we don't, that's like, this is a prediction happening on a Friday night and the game is not until Monday. So some things can happen that can change our mind and can change the results. So we don't know.
Yeah. And you want to know something really fun? The backup quarterback for Washington just committed to JMU. So
hey, look at that. You might have a national champion coming
I
to
mean, we already have enough of them, but we'll take more, So, all right. So let's talk about probably one of the biggest stories, right? In
the biggest story.
Sports this week, I think. I mean, God, and I'm going to say this, what a shitty way for that game to end.
Wow. Right?
I hate any game that is decided by the refs. I really do. I'm one of those people that but especially that game. And again, I also hate Dallas. So let's preface all of that with this. But this game was so good. And it came down to the wire. And you wanted to see them do it, right? And then that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'll set the stage, because this has been story time with Morgan and Kylan anyway. So I'll set the stage, right? So the Sixers, I believe, this was Saturday, right? So Sixers had just lost. I was in the midst of writing my article, which y'all definitely should again check out. Shameless plug, WatsonSports6.com. I believe Morgan has read it. Great article. But
Yes,
like
great article.
it was about how the Sixers had just lost to the Bulls. And I was in the middle of finishing that. I was watching it with my friend who was back from Atlanta. He's originally from born in Philadelphia but raised in Delaware. Clarence Taylor III. I think I've shouted him out before, so shout out Trey again. We were watching it together. He was here in this lovely broadcast studio slash my room that's behind me, and we were watching that. We turned from the Sixers game because, like, I will admit that as I've said on this thing before, like basketball is 1A, football is 1B for me. But like I do
Yeah.
watch football. I'm more watch Eagles stuff than I do anything else, just because like I am not like Morgan, Mike Florio, Chris Sims, and the rest of y'all. I cannot. I can do 3 football games if I want to. If somebody's paying me to do it, I'll watch them. But like on my free time, I'm like, all right, the Eagles was enough stress. I'm not gonna like invest more time in a team, whether I like them or not, and then look at them. Plus, like I said, we both PFT Sims. We tackle in some way, so I'm going to be inundated with it anyway. So I do it on my free time. So like we get to that game, I'm in the midst of writing my article as the Lions are driving. They score. Both Trey and I are excited. I'm literally just hit send. I'm sending the emails and the texts around, and as I'm doing that, my friend is all like, "So Colin, what do you think?" I told him like on the like when they got the ball at the 25 that Dan Campbell was going for 2 no matter what.
Oh
like
yeah,
like
we knew that. That's
like
his favorite thing to
yeah,
do is go for 2.
it's a guarantee. Like big balls, Dan, no doubts about it. He was going for 2, right? And so that's exactly what happens. I've typed my article. I've just sent it. They score. We both are going nuts. You just have to picture me and him. You've never seen this, but you have to just picture me and him going nuts because the Cowboys are about to lose. They're down 1 point. We know even at home it's not going to happen. That Mike McCarthy, who I have said before, has a doctorate's degree in clock mismanagement and ways to lose games that they shouldn't lose. We've seen it before. It was going to happen again. Like it was going to be fantastic. And then those dang refs, like was all like, nah, that can't happen. So they say the old lineman is ineligible. Obviously, it's not like I was about to say the UFC. It's not like the XFL and USFL, who congratulations to those people who just combined for spring football. Shout out to them. Um, um, but like it's not like that when you can review the calls. I think calls should be reviewable. This will preview the next question. But I just was like, I can't believe. I hate it when it happens in basketball. I hate it when it happens in any sport where the refs are all like, nah, it's about me. It's about me.
It
Like
was
it's
so
not
bad.
about the team.
So
I
bad.
was so mad that happened. And obviously after that, and then the penalty, and then another penalty on Dallas. Honestly, if I was Dan Campbell at that point, I would have been like, you know what? The 8 ball, it's kind of against me. I'm getting these mixed signals that I definitely should go for 1. But obviously, he's big balls Dan. That's why they love him in Detroit. He was not going to do that. He should, if I was him after that first success and then the penalty and then the back-to-back penalties, I would have been like, yeah, let's just go for 1. I'm facing a coach that, even though he has a Super Bowl ring, like I said, has a doctorate's degree. Like he should definitely just be called Dr. McCarthy, because like he has a doctorate's
It's
degree
so bad. It's so
in
bad.
clock mismanagement. Like between him and Dak, I don't understand how they get this far. Like it is clock mismanagement. Like you could just hear it. Like that's why it goes, here we go, because it's going.
Here we go.
Here we go. And I'm just like, yeah, it was going to happen. Choke City was on, and the refs said no. So, like, they were literally saved by the refs. I was telling Morgan when I was coming up with this banner that's below us. Like, I couldn't come up with any more creativity, like, because they were literally saved by the refs. Like, Detroit fans may call it the Big D screw down. Like, because that's what it is. It was the Big D screw job, like whatever you want to call it. Like,
It was so bad.
I don't blame the conspiracy theorists who might after that might say it's rigged, because I was saying the same thing in my head. Like But the refs acted like they were bigger than the game, and they saved the Cowboys. It screwed the Lions over. Obviously, my Eagles crapped the bed. So the Lions would have been a number one seed had it gone the way it should have gone. They probably wouldn't have been the number one seed. It might have been number two. My Eagles would have probably been the number three. And everything looks very different, right? The Cowboys are locked in at 5. Morgan's hometown team, the Commanders, was probably been like, all right, we're just going to get the number 2 pick and get rid of our favorite. Mister, do the thing, do it. I can't do it justice like you. Would have been like, bye. But like that didn't happen. And now we are where we are. But I'm gonna let you go.
So mad.
I've talked about the refs enough. You go right ahead.
I just again, like, why does this keep happening? Why are we continuing to talk about the refs week in and week out? And it drives me crazy again, because these games should not be being decided by the refs like that. Oh, and then, I mean, I don't know. What do you do? What do you do when the refs mess up so badly that the game is like completely changed?
So like, are you asking that rhetorically?
No, not really. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, what would you say?
So, like, what basketball does to kind of admit their mistakes, obviously you have the 2 challenges, which they kind of stole. It was 1, then they did 2. They kind of stole that from football. But I think basketball gets it right? You should be able to, and I know this is going to sound like I'm stealing from Mike Florio's playbook. As I told Morgan off air, I'll tell y'all right now, we've referenced our NBC shows, but I did not work on PFT or any of those shows this week. So I have no idea what they said about this. So if I'm stealing it from his playbook, it is completely unintentional. But what I would do, just because I'm a big basketball fan, is I would allow the coaches, your coaches challenge, as they do in the USFL. What did NBC have rights to? The USFL, right? Whereas they did in the USFL, you should be able to challenge the pass interferences, the questionable referee calls, like they do in basketball. You can challenge anything, like any questionable thing that the refs have, right? And if like that's the more immediate solution that needs to happen this offseason, instead of worrying about hip. This is where we're really going to get into the PFT bag. Hip drop tackles and brotherly. Honestly, Mike Florio has said the brotherly shove thing is complete BS. It sounded like complete BS, but I'm glad that somebody's on that. Instead of worrying about brotherly shoves, instead of worrying about hip drop tackles. Again, for those of you that might not be in the football journalism weeds like we are, hip drop tackles, there's no video. Pete Demotlis is not going to play some video that Morgan and I have to cover. Demolitis. Sorry, Pete, for messing up your last name like that. But like, he's not going to play some footage over us that we'll have to cover later because it'll get us in trouble with the NFL later. But like, hip drop tackles are essentially like they drop the hips, they tackle them from the legs down. You probably have seen those tackles. I want y'all to be more educated when it comes to this. So when I say that, or Morgan says that, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So like what they can do to not go on a tangent about this any more than I already have, they can do what the NBA does when it's playoff season and when questionable calls happen. They do a 2-minute report where the NBA, where New York and Secaucus, New Jersey, which is where the NBA office is, says this is what the referees got wrong, and they do it based off the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. They talk about how Joel Embiid was fouled. We missed that. The ref missed that. Our bad. Like, there was a travel during the game. There was this. There was that. You know, being transparent. Now, obviously, that's probably a little bit more transparency than the people in New York City at the NFL office want. But like, that's what they need to do. Like, it should just be like a referee report. Here's what the refs got wrong. Every quarter, just do that, because we know they all have tape where they have that. And it was clear as day that the ref messed up. Then he tried to cover himself. It was a whole thing. So the more immediate thing they can do is something like that. Steal from the NBA like they steal from you. 2-minute report or whatever. Maybe 4 quarters report, whatever they want to call it. Like, do that. Expand the challenge. You should be able to challenge questionable pass interference calls, phantom holding calls, which have gotten the Eagles this year, has gotten the Giants, the Commanders. Everybody's been victimized by a phantom holding call. For the Eagles fans, the phantom false starts call because the refs can't differentiate the arm of Jason Kelsey and the arm of defenders. The Giants got away with that on Christmas Day, right? Like stuff like that. You should be able to challenge that. DPIs. Shout out to the Dallas Cowboys. DPIs. Catches. What up? What up, Dez? You should be able to challenge that. Like, does the ground really cause a fumble? Like, it should be expanded. That's what you can do to improve officiating. My shout out to Mike Florio. Hire the refs full time. Why does everybody else have full time refs except you?
I think that's the biggest one. I think you have to hire the refs full time. And I think that that's something that, again, so many people don't know that the refs aren't full time is crazy to me. And I feel like we have to keep reminding people that like the refs are not full time people. They have regular jobs during the week and they come in and they do this on the weekends and they make good money. But like, you're telling me that the NFL doesn't have enough money to pay these people full time? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's craziness. Of course they do.
Did you see the report that like the ball boys, I think it was the Dolphins ball boys get like, and I might be wrong on this, get like $50K a year for like being just handing the ball to Tua? There was a meme about it, like the ball or the water boy or girl on these teams gets like $50K, and I'm like, I'll do it.
Yes, me too.
I'll do it. But yeah, like that's what they need to do. More immediate thing. Expand the if I could then I'll let you go. If I could expand this on, if I could put this segmented immediately, do a 4 quarters report or referee mistakes report or whatever you want to call it. Like I said, the NBA calls it the last 2-minute report, L2R, because the NBA likes fancy stuff and easy stuff for us broadcasters to be able to be like, here's the L2R. Like, it's something very simple. Everybody knows it. Like something like that for the NFL. That's immediate. And other immediate, hire refs full time. Again, we'll keep saying it. The refs are not full time, people. They have other jobs. They're lawyers, they're doctors, they're teachers, whatever they are. They have other things going on in their lives. So there's that. Expand the more immediate thing that needs to be discussed in the meetings in the spring. Expand the challenge. Like, you should be able to challenge the phantom holdings, the phantom, all the phantom stuff that we talked about, right? Do that. And I think that'll improve officiating, especially if you're calling referee crews out like the NBA does during the last 2-minute reports, because these games are important. Like, again, like I said, and as to what we're about, well, actually, we got to talk about, is this referee crew ever officiating again? Yes, they are. The Steelers game this weekend. I think tomorrow. Congratulations, Mike Tomlin. You get this crew. that is, like, just think about it. The Lions win that game. They're up there with the 49ers and the Eagles challenging for that 1 seed, right? Dallas is in the 5 seed. If the Eagles, like they did, crap the bed, they're a 3 seed. Like, the whole picture looks a little different, right? Like, the Lions are a 2 seed. They get to go to Ford. You got to go to Ford Field and deal with all that Detroit craziness. Now they're stuck at 3. Like, so it's a whole different thing if that doesn't happen. And the NFL just they have to do last 15 minutes a report like that just to call them out on it. Especially if you're going to hire the referee crew full time, because you can't have refs thinking they're bigger than the game. You really can't.
And I think, people say all the time, oh, it's a ref show. Oh, it's a ref show. But like, that was bad. That was a ref show. That was somebody, and that wasn't even, I don't even know if the guy did that on purpose, but like, he messed up. He made a drastic mistake that cost them the game, realistically.
The playoff seeding. Like, I think we all had Detroit as probably a 2nd round exit anyway, but like, they cost them, or it might be easier. Who knows? Because we don't know how seeding will work out. Either the Eagles or the Cowboys will get the 2 seeds, or it might look a little different for the Lions. Maybe it's better for them to get the 3 seed. We just don't know. We'll know after this
in a few hours. Yeah.
So, like I said, what can he or oh, did you want to add anything more to officiating before we
No,
move
I
on?
think I truly think the biggest thing is making them full time. I don't think there's anything that's
Well, what do
gonna
you think?
be.
Go ahead.
Mhm.
What's your thought?
No, I was just gonna say I don't think there's anything that's gonna be better than that.
Well, what do you think about my idea of like the 4 quarters report, the last 15 minutes? Because you got like the
I
first.
like that. I like that, and I like that you and I the only thing that I will say is, like, that I feel like that might be really hard for, like, the games that are happening all at once, but I also, like, just then hire more people. I don't know, you're the NFL, like, make it work. You
Right.
know? That's my thing. Like,
Yeah.
I get pissed about it. Just make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. But as we just alluded to, because we don't really need to spend more time on this question, they're gonna rep the Steelers game this weekend. Good luck to those two teams. Hope you don't get creative with the 2 point conversion. Yeah. So the Steelers. Shout out to my Steelers fans, Dom Daniele again. Shout out to all my Steelers fans. You have a chance to go to the playoffs, and you got this referee crew. I don't know if you're really feeling good about your chances, but you got Mike Tomlin, and Mason Rudolph has rediscovered that George Pickens is always open. So there's always a chance that you will make it. Are they playing the Ravens? Is this the
Yeah.
Ravens game?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry. But you have a chance because the Ravens are sitting everybody. So you do have a chance. So whether this referee crew decides to make
Help
themselves
you
big,
out or not, you never know
yes.
what side of the puzzle you're gonna be on.
Yeah, so exciting if you're a Steelers or a Ravens fan that you have this crew. I guess it's better to have them now than in the playoffs. So
That's
I
true.
don't I don't
I
think
mean,
they
I
should
don't
ref any playoff game because it's
I
just
agree with you. I
ridiculous.
don't think they need to have them ref them, and they did say they were getting, like, delegated or relegated or whatever, so maybe they'll have to go ref some USFL games and prove themselves before next season.
Yeah. Yeah, and we talked about this already. We alluded to it. The muddy NFC playoff picture.
It's crazy, right? There's so many different options that go on. So during the season, we always do, we on one of the shows I work on, we do a thing where we do um requiems for every team that's lost. And generally by now we have most of the teams that aren't in the playoffs. We still have like 7 or 8 teams that we haven't done yet because we still don't know. And I mean, it's so crazy. You look at all of these options and it seems like there's a million options, you know?
Yeah, it definitely seems different. Like we said, the NFC. Like I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that between these 4 teams, the Eagles, not because I'm being a homer, but just because the Eagles, the Lions, the Cowboys, even though I hate saying that, and the Niners, that is your Super Bowl champion. Like, I just think unless it's the Ravens who are going to overwhelm either one of those teams, and I fully believe in the Ravens. Everybody knows that. If you saw 2 episodes ago, I was one of the few people saying the Ravens were going to kick the ass of the 49ers on Christmas Day. Like, because Lamar Jackson is on a personal revenge tour against any team that had a chance to take him and did not. Shout out to you, 49ers. He should have had his Jimmy Butler moment. Brock Purdy over me? Like it should have been just like that. Like, and he did. He kicked that ass on Christmas Day. Like outside of Baltimore, right? Like it is the NFC, like the NFC is loaded. That's all this picture is proving. If it wasn't for the Big D screw job, the Lions might look a little better than all three of these than the other 3 teams that I said. But the 49ers are looking all right. But, we didn't really talk about this because it's not a question, but it fits into this muddied NFC playoff picture. CMC is now injured with with a calf thing. I told y'all 49ers fans, like it is. I don't know what y'all did. I don't know what is going on with your team, but I just see these injuries just keep creeping up. It's like the injury bug. Like it does. This only happens to the 49ers and sometimes the Ravens. Everybody
And
else gets the. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, and it happens this time of the year.
Yeah.
Like
It happens this time
Always.
of year, but specifically only happens like for everybody else. It happens earlier, right? Specific, like perfect example when the Eagles won their Super Bowl, right? The injury happened in December, but it was early December. It was Carson Wentz going down, still throwing a touchdown on a broken freaking leg, right? Still doing that, right? It happened early, so the Eagles had time. But for the 49ers, you know, obviously the injury, the serious injury bug bit them early, right? Like they were able to maintain that 3-game losing streak. But now it's the worst time because it's knick-knack injuries. It's a strained calf now. It's Trent Williams going down with whatever leg injury he has. Javon Hargrave has something. Armstead
Always.
has something. So now the run game isn't as good as it was, right? You know, I've always said you can run on them. The Ravens just proved that you can run on them. You know, the Commanders, your hometown team, were out here using their running backs to show that Fred Warner ain't him. Like, you know, it's very, I keep saying it, it's very easy to take advantage of the 49ers because if they're not beating your ass with the score by being up 4 touchdowns, you can beat them. They can be had. Like I keep saying it. Like there's no like in the NFC, it's not like it was last year when the Eagles were the best team and it wasn't close, right? The 49ers had a chance, but it really wasn't close. It's not this year. It's the ultimate parity in the NFC. That's why I said between those 4 teams, you know, on the neutral field, if it's not the Ravens, they can beat any team. Not named the Ravens. But the Ravens, if the Ravens make it, which we all expect they probably will, then yes, the Ravens Super Bowl can gas up the Jets, Baltimore. You're probably getting a Super Bowl this year. So, like, you know, it'll probably be the Ravens. I don't know, man. I don't really have, like, even though the 49ers are locked into that number 1 seed, I don't really have confidence, especially with the knick-knack injuries, that they'll be able to, like, make it to the Super Bowl. I have no confidence.
I don't think anyone does. I think that that's what we were saying last week was that, like, they are the team that can blow you out by 40, but they can also lose by 25. And you're like, what is going on right now? Which is weird and doesn't give you a lot of confidence going into the playoffs.
Right. It doesn't. But if you're a 49ers fan, like I said, for CMC, you know, they're resting their starters this week. So, you know, Mike Florio isn't getting what he wants, which is the Rams getting eliminated. But also the Rams are kind of availing themselves to their fate. They're playing Carson Wentz and Puka Nacua. And Puka's going to get like his 29, 30 yards, whatever he needs to break that rookie receiving record. And he'll frankly be pulled because they need him in the playoffs. So, like, again, like, my confidence is only in 2 teams, and they both reside in big cities, and that is my Eagles. And my outside dark horse. Yeah, I still have faith, Morgan. Despite what I've seen, I still have faith.
You might be the only one, but
and the Rams and the Rams, I might claim them if the Eagles get eliminated early. I will definitely claim the Rams as my second team. But the Rams, because like we talked about them, like the Rams, they might be the scariest team.
For real.
And you know, maybe it's the Lions. Maybe this is the year. Maybe Michigan does. I don't know if this has ever happened. Maybe the state of Michigan gets the national champion and the Super Bowl champion. This might be the year. If Detroit's going to break the curse, this might be the year because, as I just said, you know, we ran down every team. We're going to run down the Eagles in a minute. But, like, we've run down every team but the team that resides here in my city. But, like, you know, it's the Lions might be the strongest team because, like, they look the best out of all 4 of these teams that actually can make the Super Bowl.
100%. 100%.
And that's with Jared Goff as your quarterback. Like, that's the only knock on them is that Jared Goff is the quarterback. But, I mean, that's the knock on the 49ers, too. Like, Brock Purdy is your quarterback. Like I said, the best quarterbacks in the NFC resides – this is no knock on them, but the best quarterbacks in the NFC reside in Dallas and Philadelphia. That's it. Like, there's no like the good quarterbacking is in Philly and Dallas. That's it in the NFC. Like, there's no knock on Brock Purdy. It's just that, you know, I don't think anybody outside of a 49ers fan would be like, yeah, he's better than Dak and Jalen Hurts.
No. I don't think
Right.
so either.
Yeah. So yeah.
All
So
right, so are we breaking down your Eagles now?
I guess so, unless you got anything to say about those other teams.
About my Giants? No. My Giants are. I hope they lose. Because I would like them to get a higher draft pick. But
In that Marvin Harrison sweepstakes, huh?
yes, I would like to see them get him. That would be fun for all Giants fans everywhere. But yeah, no, we don't need to talk about the Giants. They are a dumpster fire of a team right now, which is not a bad thing because we want that pick. But let's talk about the Eagles. So you said you still have faith in them, which is probably because you're an Eagles fan. I don't know how much faith I have in them. I have to say, I have more faith in them after the AJ Brown. Is it AJ Brown who did the little
Press
thing in the
conference.
locker room?
Yeah.
The press conference in the locker room. Okay, so I have more faith after watching that because for a while I thought that there was a lot of like discourse within the actual team itself, but it's not looking like that. It's looking more like they understand that they have the opportunity to do something great, aka win a Super Bowl, and that they have to do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Now look. I came in saying, and I said this before we started this podcast, and when we started this podcast, like the Eagles are the best team in the NFC, but that does not necessarily mean that they will go back to back in Super Bowls. Like this is a rarity for the Eagles, right? They actually have a better record than the team that beat them in the Super Bowl. It usually reverses. So like they're already beating the norm. But I feel like the curse of losing, I don't want to say this, but the curse of losing the Super Bowl last year is on them now, right?
Yeah.
They had a good first half. They're going through some adversity. That's what I have faith in, right? I have faith that, more than likely, unless your Commanders do us all a solid and Juan decides he wants to save his job, like
I don't think there's any saving of that job, but continue.
But unless Josh Harris gives them the greatest speech ever and like does not immediately hire Eric Bieniemy and fire both the coach and the quarterback, I think that because this happened last year, Washington, your hometown team, beat Dallas. It was kind of already set in stone, but it cost Dallas some seeding. So I fully expect the Commanders to give it their all. They're kind of locked in on the 2 seed because the Panthers won't be winning, so they'll have that 2 seed regardless.
Yep.
I'm sorry, that's number 2 pick, not the 2 seed. Number 2 pick regardless in the draft. And so I just think that I think that path for the Eagles of either facing Tampa Bay, the Saints, or the Panthers is a little bit easier. I think that the fact that they'll get the Dallas and San Francisco will go head to head in the second round, while the Eagles get to like maybe face the Lions, right, in Detroit. Even though I just gave a lot of praise to Detroit, I'll take the Eagles in that matchup against the Lions.
I would too.
And I'll take the Eagles and 49ers. I think that second rematch will be a lot closer than our colleague Michael Smith thinks. I just think that if the 49ers, because like honestly, 49ers fans, I want to give y'all hope, but I mean, there's no hope. This happens every year to y'all. The knick-knack injuries start piling up in the playoff, before the playoffs, in the playoffs. Then you're all wanting, then you guys, the players, the fans are all going to be whining again, one way or the other. So like, I have to have it, even if I wasn't an Eagles fan, and like I said, I'm taking that hat off because the pessimistic Eagles fan in me, as I've texted people, not you, but as I've texted other Eagles fans that had Eagles fans text, I've told them like, because they have way more faith than I do. They'll say like, oh, we're gonna go, and I'm just like, nah, bro, it's one and done. It's a first round exit. It's the heat, the same heat that the Sixers get is what the Eagles need to get if that first round exit happens. That's the pessimist in me. But the realist and the person covering this team, I just feel like if they limit the turnovers, if they're not having dumb penalties like it's been happening these last 3 games, if they fire Matt Patricia and actually get a DC in there that can actually call some defense and is not a big Fangio disciple, then they can win. They're getting help. Like all it is for the Eagles is getting healthy. They'll get Darius Slay back in the playoffs. That'll be great. That's the best. That's the best quarterback they have. They're getting Avonte Maddox back. He had some rust. He was getting abused by Dortch and everybody else. It happens. It's what happens when you take 3 months off. It's or not 3 months off, but injury recovery for 3 months. They're getting healthy. Like all these teams, every other team is injured. The Eagles are getting healthy. Quietly and slowly, they're getting healthy. They're going through the adversity already. Some people, I wasn't one of these people, but there were a lot of people and people we work with that were saying the Eagles had it too easy last year. They don't have it easy this year.
No, they don't.
It's good to see. And that's all I can really say. My faith is in the fact that, they're getting healthy now. They have to play against the Giants on that crappy behind field now. Hopefully, they can stay healthy.
Yeah, I think there definitely are some Giants fans that want to play. Guess it wouldn't be because you guys would still be in the playoffs, but play. I don't know what is the word. It's not. Oh my gosh, it's almost midnight and my brain has gone to mush. They want to win and to cause y'all to have a harder path in the playoffs. But
our spot's pretty much assured unless the Cowboys lose. So either way, it's 2 or 5. I feel like most Eagles fans would prefer the 5 seed than the 2 seed. But it's because they think that path of NFC South and then NFC North is easier than playing the 49ers in the second round. So it's different. Obviously I think the Cowboys want the 49ers more than the Eagles do at this point. So it's one of those things, but I just have, like I said, the Eagles are getting healthier. Everybody else is getting hurt. The Eagles are getting healthier. We'll see after they play. Like I'm assuming they're going to treat it like a preseason game. Play the first quarter, then get everybody out at the end of it. But I fully expect the Eagles to beat your Giants. And if the Giants win, even better, because that assures the Eagles get the 5th seed. But I think the Eagles they need a dominating win. And unfortunately for your Giants, it didn't happen against the Cardinals, so it's got to happen against y'all.
They are a mess.
Right.
They're a mess, and I think that is all that there is to say about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other games.
I think for me, my only prediction is, unfortunately for the Bills, I just think that the Dolphins are going to just kick that behind because they have to. That is the thing, right? Like this is the playoffs before the playoffs for both of these teams. And I just think that, unfortunately Tyreek Hill's house caught on fire. Unfortunately.
I know. We haven't talked about that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if it was his child or another child, but playing with a lighter and causing a house fire. So yeah, that's unfortunate for him and his family. Hopefully they obviously will land on his feet because he gets millions of dollars. But yes. Hopefully, we're thankful nobody was hurt in that. But yeah, I cannot I want to say that the Bills can pull it off, but I just don't see pressure on the Bills. McDermott's going to lose his job regardless of what happens, whether they make it to the playoffs or not.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's going to be unfortunate for Josh Allen that they're going to waste his prime and lose to the Dolphins, just because I just think Tua won't be denied. And the Buffalo Bills are like the Eagles. They're getting healthy at the right time. But I just think, when you put yourself behind the 8 ball, and obviously it wasn't all their fault as a team, they got injured and stuff, but they're just too behind the 8 ball. And when teams, as you know, being a bigger NFL fan than me, when teams are behind the 8 ball like the Bills are, they usually don't make the playoffs. So I'm gonna lean on history and chalk here and say the Dolphins will beat that behind. And unfortunately, this will be a playoff without Josh Allen.
Yeah, it sucks. I agree with you. I love Josh Allen. I really do. I think he's such a talent. We've talked about this before. But it's shitty that he's in this situation. And I don't know if McDermott is gone either way. I kind of feel like he's gone either way.
He's gone.
But you think he's gone either way?
He's gone. Yeah, they fired the OC. It's gotten better, but like I think the writing's kind of on the wall, right? Like,
No. Yes, I agree with that. Yeah, it kind of it makes me sad. We have no Bengals, we have no Bills. I feel like my boys are gone. You know, we have no Joe Burrow. We might not have Allen. It's making me kind of sad.
You still have Patty Mack and Taylor Swift.
That's true. That's true. I got the Kelseys.
Yeah,
So, all right. So, any other big predictions for the weekend of anything that you think is going to happen, or will happen, or won't happen, or?
No, I think that's the biggest one. I'd like to say the Cowboys are going to lose, but I have no confidence in your hometown team. So.
No, me neither. None.
But I think that my biggest one is I think this will be the first year in a while where there will be no New York teams except for maybe the Rangers in the playoffs this year. So what a great start to 2024 for the obviously the Knicks will make the playoffs and the Rangers, but it'll be unfortunate because there will be no New York teams in the playoffs for this 2023-24 season, except for the basketball and the hockey team. So it's unfortunate. Yes. It's unfortunate for New York sports, but it happens.
I agree. All right. Are we doing it?
Yeah,
I forgot we have this one. All right. So is Caitlin Clark the star women's basketball player that the WNBA that they need? Where will she go? What does she need to do? I think she is unbelievable. I love her attitude. I love that she gives no Fs. I love that she has she has just absolutely taken over the women's the sport, the world. Oh my gosh. This is okay, people. It's 11:49 at night. I'm so sorry. My words are getting jumbled. I love that she has taken over the world by storm. I love that their games are sold out regardless of the fact that it's a women's game. And a lot of times women's games don't draw as big of a crowd at certain schools as men's teams do. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think that, we talked a little bit about it off air when both of our brains were working better. But yeah, so Caitlin Clark right now is the star of women's college basketball. Obviously, as far as the WNBA, you have A'ja Wilson, Kelsey Plum, our colleague Aaliyah Boston. You have a bunch of stars in the WNBA. But she is the current best player and the face of college basketball.
Yep.
On all sides in men's and women. She has benefited from the fact that there really isn't a men's basketball player that's the face of basketball, right?
Yep.
Like, that is her, right? She is her. Yep. like
she is her. I was telling you this earlier before we got on that, like I said, I was watching the UConn game and the announcers started talking because the game that was simultaneously with the UConn game was the Iowa women's game, and they were talking about, they were like, is she the biggest name in college basketball right now, men or women? And I think, yeah. And what's even crazier is that I think her and Paige Beckers may be the two people in college basketball that people know their names more than like, they were comparing it to maybe Zach Edey. And I was like, yeah, but Zach Edey isn't like a household name. I feel like the casual college sports fan doesn't know who Zach Edey is or where they play. If you say Caitlin Clark and even Paige Beckers, most people know Iowa and UConn.
You say any of those names, Paige, Ozzy, like it's a like the women really have the claim because like it really is besides Zach Edey, copy and paste here
Yep.
every other place.
Yep.
So like and I say that with an alma mater with Judah Mintz as the star player. Like
Yeah.
there is no like face of men's college basketball currently. And that is like you got Caitlin Clark starring. I just saw it on my TV that's off right now. Like starring in State Farm commercials alongside Jimmy Butler and Reggie Miller.
It's
Like
crazy.
she's the
It
face.
is.
Like she's the face of college basketball. Maybe not the WNBA because I know there's people that even though it's 11:51, they wanted to get deep in the whole racial dynamics there with her and Sabrina Ionescu. Y'all don't have to worry about that. She's about to dwarf Sabrina Ionescu in public as the face of the WNBA. Like,
Sorry, my dog is
no, it's all
coughing.
good. It's all
You
good.
okay, Mike?
Like
You okay?
the she will be the face, one of the faces of the WNBA. Now, she's the face of the current era of college basketball because as a big basketball head myself, obviously Maya Moore dominated. We all remember that Maya Moore dominated college basketball. She was a face of WNBA. Hello, Mike. She is the face of Mike.
No, Mike.
Is when I
Mike.
get random. Like this is going to be her sport, but Asia Wilson, Aaliyah Boston, they are the stars of college basketball. Shamika Holdsclaw, there's a bunch of faces of the WNBA who don't really get the shine that they deserve. But like that is about to be, and then like she'll come in, she'll have her year, and then next year's Paige. Like Caitlin Clark has benefited from the fact that, as I said off air, and I'll say right here, outside of the fact that like there are a bunch of stars in college basketball, but she is the biggest star right now.
Yep.
Yet there is like Paige has been injured, so she really hasn't had to share that with anybody. She had to share it with Aaliyah Boston last year, the year before that, but now Aaliyah's in the WNBA, right? A lot of the stars, the Stanford players, Cameron Brink, and a bunch of other people they'll all be in the WNBA. So the WNBA will just keep having influx of stars. They just got Aaliyah Boston. They'll get Caitlin Clark this upcoming year. Next year will be Paige. The year after that will probably be Ozzy. It just keeps coming for
and
women's
they'll get
basketball.
some of your favorite girl, Kim's gals.
Malky, I totally forgot. Angel Reese will probably like dip
Yeah.
next year too. Like it just keeps coming, man. So we will see. We will see about that. You have anything to add before we get to our favorite segment?
No, I don't.
No. Caitlin, so yeah, get your Caitlin Clark jerseys now. Enjoy the fact that NBC is basically about to make her the face of its college basketball coverage because she's out here. She's like, I think, because we've seen the internal numbers. We don't want to get too deep in the internal literally internal ball about what goes on in our company. But it has come out because this is publicly available. I'm not giving out any secrets here that our bosses wouldn't like. But it has come out that this probably won't surprise anybody. She is the number one Googleable college basketball player. And she might be the number one basketball player. I don't know if she dwarfs Steph Curry, LeBron, Joel Embiid, and Nikola Jokic in Google searches, but she probably does. Just because, like, this is no knock. Like, a lot of people watch basketball, but, around this time, a lot of people have a lot of eyes on college basketball. So she is the number one, like, Googleable player, I guess, in college basketball. So that adds to what we were talking about, that she is the face. If nothing, if we don't want to be disrespectful, like I said, to Angel Wilson, the rest of them, but she's definitely the face of college basketball. I'll give you
that. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. All righty. Our favorite segment. He's not him. She's not her. They aren't them. I only have one this week. And it's so big that it takes all three for me.
Okay. Well, before you say this, okay. I just want to say, just out of disclaimer, this is what this dude should have said before what happened. A little preview. Hit. This does not reflect Sports Hour with Miller and Watson's thing.
Yes.
All opinions are ours. So
I'm not even going to get into the politics of it. It's
just in case anybody wants to sue. I know you're not, but I just want to put that out there because this is what he should have said. So go ahead.
Mine is Pat McAfee. And specifically Pat McAfee and Aaron Rodgers. But we have let people get on to live television and just say things so much that at some point you have to just be able to say, shut up. Like, people just have to be like, shut up. Like, you just be quiet. And there are some times where it's like, just freaking stick to sports. Like, this wasn't like it wasn't like there was a massive, horrendous event that happened and they were talking about it and people told them to stick to sports. No, this is right before the NFL playoffs. There's no reason for you to be talking about anything besides the NFL right now. Right. Talk about the NFL. Why is Aaron Rodgers even still coming on your show? The Jets suck. He's not playing. So why is he still coming on your show every week?
Views for this. We're talking
for views, for people talking about it, which is true. So that's all I'm going to give him. But I have been all year, he's been pissing me off. And it's boiled over to a point. And it stems from a lot of things. I don't like his show. I think his show is annoying. I don't like that all he does is scream with his shirt off. I know that and I also understand that I'm not the demographic that this show is prepping for. I know that it's not me. It's maybe for younger college-aged guys, but still, I think there's a way to present information, and I don't love the way that he does it. So that is all I have, because I think everybody else has done pretty good this week. They've been pretty solid and pretty good this week and nice. And they pissed me off so much that that's all I could concentrate on. What are yours?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm gonna piggyback off that. I didn't really have anything until you reminded me of how I felt about that. So I'm gonna get into it myself. I'm gonna make my day on them. ESPN, baby. Like, how did you let that fly? Like, okay, for those of you that have been living under a rock, just because we need to get into it, and you could equally Google this. Like, I will tell you, I like First Take. I watch ESPN, grew up on it. Stuart Scott, all the Hannah Storm, Scott Van Pelt, all of those people, right? Bomani Jones grew up on it, right? Bomani Jones a little bit younger, so I don't want to be disrespectful. He I love ESPN, but at 12 o'clock when he comes on, I'd rather watch the local news. I like Pat McAfee. I'm a big wrestling guy. He's come up in that. Like,
I loved him before he went to ESPN. Like, I liked him when he was on Barstool. I loved him as as a kicker or a punter or whatever he was. Like, he was fun. He had a good personality, and it's like warped in the last 2 years.
Right. Like, and I will just make this whole thing ESPN. But anyway, what happens is, as we all know, parts of, and this is the job of journalists, not us, not sports journalists, but more newsy people. But because we both have had classes in news and have done this, we can do it for them. But for those of you that don't know, some parts of the list of Epstein, the famous Epstein list, has come out. Now, this is not the pedophile list, which everybody is anticipating. This is just people whose names came up in witness statements.
And things that he said about them.
Yeah, you may have seen
interviews.
You may have seen Stephen Hawking came up. George Lucas came up. They were not on the island. It was just people. The investigators were asking the Jane Does, who did you see on the island? Like, who sexually assaulted you? And they asked about these names because they were on the ledger. But just because they were on the ledger, for those of you that don't know what Epstein did before his passing, as a rich predator, it's legal. It's legal to be able to say that. I'm not getting in any trouble by saying that because that's documented now, right? Like, he hung out with the Stephen Hawkings of the world, the different athletes, flew with Bill Clinton and all these other people. These are not the people you are looking for. These are just people that have come up. And like, how often did this happen? So a lot of people have misinterpreted this list. A lot of conspiracy theories were running with it. Aaron Rodgers being one of them, that, there'll be all these famous people. But what got lost in it, some reporters did a good job of saying it, some didn't. This happens a lot when this comes up, that it gets lost in the shuffle because you have conspiracy theorists and different non-reporters, people who didn't go to J school, people like Aaron Rodgers, just making stuff up, not looking at it, and just putting people's names out there irresponsibly. And that's what happened, right? He said for lack of a better term, that basically Jimmy Kimmel would be on the list, and people like Jimmy Kimmel don't want the list to come out. And obviously, as soon as he said that, whoever produces that show
should have said
could have
commercial.
tweeted that out, should have said, go to commercial right now.
And for those of you that don't know, these shows are taped live, yes, but they are on a delay. Yeah. They have enough time that they could have just hit the technical difficulties button, flew to commercial. They could, the reason that these broadcasts and things are on a delay is for things like that, so that your company doesn't get sued when somebody says something that is false on your air.
Right. And as we know, because again, we're going to give you some baseball here. We both, or I've had, I won't speak for Morgan, I believe she's had an ethics class. We've all had ethics classes in journalism. I know some of y'all don't think, oh, you journalists aren't ethical.
We are. No, we take a lot of ethics classes.
We take a lot of ethics class and media law classes. And the one thing that we know is that you are not allowed, whether they are public figures or not. A lot of you have seen that. Morgan's been in Connecticut. She's gotten to watch this personally with everybody's favorite conspiracy theorist, Alex Jones, right? That just because you say stuff on air does not mean that if you say it and it's false, it is called per se, defamation per se. I'm getting real legal here. Shout out to Professor Roy Gutterman, my comm law professor from a couple of years ago. I'm getting real legal here, and I don't want to, but I have to give y'all this. Like, my thing is ESPN just because they knew better. They know that Disney shouldn't be taking shots at Disney. For those of you that don't know, ABC, ESPN, all owned by Disney. Especially a household name in more TV rooms than Jimmy Kimmel. Like, everybody knows that, like, Aaron Rodgers has said a lot of stuff. We don't need to get into, like, the whole COVID thing and everything. But he said a lot of stuff. He's in that Joe Rogan thing. And a lot of them misinterpret, just like a lot of y'all misinterpret. Just because you have free speech does not mean there's no consequences to your free speech. A lot of y'all think you could just say anything about anybody, and whether it's true or not, you could just get away with this, right? That's not how it works, whether they're public figures or not. Like, if you say something.
There are people that will argue that the flip side of, well, Jimmy Kimmel's been saying things, making jokes about Aaron Rodgers, blah, 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 blah. Well, Jimmy Kimmel has been making jokes, and you might not like his jokes, and that's fine, but he's been making jokes about things that have already been said by Aaron Rodgers. So you can, making fun of somebody, unfortunately, is not maybe the nicest thing to do, but as a comedian, it does happen. And what's interesting is, for not getting into it too much, but the people that are saying, well, he's been making fun of Jimmy Kimmel, are the people that are like, well, comedians should be able to say whatever they want. And I'm not saying that, but Jimmy Kimmel, his whole gig is that he takes news stories and things like that and makes fun of them and spins them. He's not making things up out of thin air. And that's where the difference is, that what Aaron Rodgers did was pull something out of thin air and just throw someone's name into a situation that, like, shouldn't be thrown into. Jimmy Kimmel can say that Aaron Rodgers didn't get vaccinated, or that Aaron Rodgers doesn't believe in this, why, and this, or Aaron Rodgers does drugs, because all of those things Aaron Rodgers has actively talked about. Whereas Jimmy Kimmel has never said, I am best friends with Epstein and I'm going to be on this Epstein list. Like, that's never been said by anyone besides now Aaron Rodgers. I mean, maybe somebody told him, I don't know, but that's the difference, is that, so regardless, they should have known better. And
now there's going to be a whole walking back. It's already currently happening, but ESPN, because they should have known better. There are people who produce this show. I know a lot of us don't think so, because Pat McAfee be doing what he wants. But there are people who produce that show that should have known, hey, we probably shouldn't be taking a shot at one of the faces of late night comedy, especially when we know that it's not true. And as we all know, a lot of people take what Aaron Rodgers has been, without getting too political, Aaron Rodgers has been adopted by a certain side of the internet and of people that are very nuts. They have no time. They live in their mom's basement, and they have nothing else to do but threaten and do what they want, and have people like Aaron Rodgers basically saying, oh, he's a pedophile. Like, he didn't actually say that, but he alluded to saying it, right? And as Jimmy Kimmel tweeted, he's got little girls. He's got people now calling probably New York studios of ABC saying, we're going to shoot up the studio. I don't know if that's actually being said, but y'all know people do this. We've seen politicians have stuff said about them, and then people are threatening their families. They've stalked out what school their kids go to. It's not unheard of that when Jimmy Kimmel tweeted when he said, hey, you put my family in danger, that it didn't happen because, I'm pretty sure because he shoots it in New York. I don't live there, but we all know probably where he lives. Not exactly.
There's some crazy stuff going on. I was just on Twitter because I was like, I remember seeing something today. Pat McAfee called out one of his bosses on at ESPN today, on air. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. So we'll follow that. Maybe we'll do a follow up next week if there's
but to wrap it up, ESPN, you should have known better. We don't need to get into all the politics. Obviously, as we all know, there's been layoffs at ESPN. A lot of people like Morgan and I respect don't know him personally, have gotten laid off and stuff, or maybe she does. I don't know most of them personally. But and a lot of people have put that on Pat McAfee. Obviously, there's been some cuts and stuff, but it's a tough industry, and we got to be. I say we as the. I don't make none of
as the big journalists as a total. We don't make the decisions, but as a collective, we got to be better.
We got to be better. You got somebody when you put these I feel like this happens a lot with athletes, and I'm going to be careful here, that have not journalism majors.
They don't have a lot of media training. No, it's true.
So I'm not saying
that they can't say whatever they want because they're used to being able to do that.
I'm not saying that every athlete that comes on and becomes in this industry that they shouldn't, but somebody should tell them. There should be a lawyer. Somebody should be telling them, hey, dog, the one thing you can't do is come at somebody who also gets checks by the company and who's in way more TVs than you. This cannot happen. Now Jimmy Kimmel got to sue. Now it's going to be awkward now because he's basically got to sue ESPN and by default sue Disney. It's a lot going on here, right?
Yep.
Now Pat McAfee is trying to get out of the contract because somebody probably said, yeah, you put his family in danger, there's definitely going to be a suit. There's a lot going on here. As we said, he's taking shots now at ESPN. It's a lot going on, but that's what happens when you put these people on air. You have to be better. I'm not saying that because I want to be Pat McAfee. I would love to have a show on ESPN or NBC or something, but we have to be careful. That is my goal. That's eventually Morgan's goal too. We all want to be on TV and take this somewhere, but we got to be responsible. And that's all I'm going to say on that. We got to be better as the sports media industry. Took a shot at the old guard last week. In this case, I'm taking a shot at all y'all. Be better when you're putting these people, whether that's me, whether that's Morgan. We've had these classes. We know better. But I feel like somebody has to have had that conversation with Pat that, hey, dog, Aaron Rodgers just lets the stuff fly, and eventually a suit was coming. So ESPN, that's my whole thing. I believe that this might be the short segment. If he's not him, she's not her.
Yeah.
Happy Saturday.
It is 12:09 in the morning. I'm gonna go take that bubble bath that I promised. My dogs are currently both staring at me. I think they want to use the bathroom because we've been talking for an hour and a half. But this is always fun. Great talking to you guys. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, anything that you want to talk about after the games this week. If you have questions, comments, concerns, hit us up. That's all for tonight, folks.
Deuces. Have a good night.